Hello and welcome to this ASA for Education video series. In this series, we'll be discussing key issues that educators in Australia face when it comes to technology in the context of recent and current events. My name is Sarah Baker and I'm the Head of Editorial Southern Titles for Prime Creative Media Publications in Australia, which includes Education Matters magazine. I'll be hosting today's panel discussion and I'm joined by Mr. John Salceda, Head of IT at Loritta College, Coorparoo, Mr. Marshall Thompson, CEO of Accurus, and Mr. Jason Matzer, co-founder of Accurus. Mr. Paul Murren, Director of Technology at Ipswich Girls Grammar, and Mr. Rod Bassey, Oceanic Sales Director for ASA Computer Australia. A warm welcome and thank you, gentlemen, for giving up your time today to participate in this discussion. In an address to educators earlier this year, Australia's eSafety Commissioner, Ms. Julie Inman Grant, thanked both principals and teachers for their hard work in lessening the anxieties associated with COVID-19 in their school communities. However, she also noted that with an increased number of students learning online, eSafety has never been more important. I'd like to put this subject to our panel today, starting off with the following question. With so many students now engaging in remote online learning, what are some of the potential cybersecurity risks that parents and educators need to be aware of? Now, Marshall, as CEO of Accurus, I understand you're a bit of an expert on cybersecurity. So would you like to take this one, please?
Sure, Sarah. Well, in the cyber world today, what we're seeing is that the highest risk factor across any cybersecurity strategy is always behavioural or people. So really, students, teachers and parents are the highest risk factor. So, I mean, you could have the best technology tools, security teams in the world, but if, for example, a student decides to communicate using social media apps during school or share conference IDs and passwords or inadvertently clicks on bad links through, say, phishing scams and downloads malware, well, that's really hard to control because that's a people issue.
Thanks, Marshall. And John, as Head of IT at Loritta College, what are your views on the subject?
Thanks, Sarah. For us, there are actually three potential areas of risk. Sharing of inappropriate file and content, which is quite common in a school setting. It's like when a student got something, they want to share it. Unknowingly, those files, some of those files may be infected by malware. So they're sharing the infection as well. Another one is access to a third-party application that may not be so secure, and potential exposure to phishing. So we acknowledge that, like what Marshall said, that it's normally the risk comes from people and process. So for us, what we do, we know that, and we implemented cybersecurity training for our staff, and which we're trying to plan to push it to the parents and students very soon.
Fantastic, thanks, John. It's good to get a school perspective there. And Paul, you're also responsible for the IT department at Ipswich Girls Grammar. What's your opinion on the subject?
Yeah, so very much like the other guys have said, it's around our students and our staff, and it's the personal things. It's them clicking links in spam mail, phishing. We've had a big increase in crypto style attacks this year. So obviously trying to encrypt our data and making it unusable, and trying to make us pay to get that data back. There's obviously also aspects with the girls being remote, a bit of online bullying as well has come into it a little bit, not so much to the cybersecurity, but definitely online, and needing to be aware. I think it's the parents don't understand what their children are doing on their devices. I guess from a school point of view, we can control the laptops a bit, but we can't control their mobile phones as well. So it's being aware of all technology that the kids have access to.
Yeah, very interesting. Thanks, Paul. And Rod, besides working as the Oceanic Sales Director for ASA Computer Australia, you're also a parent. So from that perspective, what's your view?
Yeah, look, I to all the points that the other persons have made, I think there's a process side of it, and there's also the people side of it. And I think the success, and we're not going to cure it overnight, but if we galvanize together over time, as a bond of school, parent, and students, I think the parents need to take a little bit of responsibility and accountability for executing best practices in the household, and leading by example with the way that you function with your technology, and hopefully, you know, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. There may be some key learnings in the household that then over time can be taken into the school environment.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Now, that's some really interesting points made there. And it also segues into our next question, the burning question really. What are some of the ways by which educators and parents can help minimise these risks that we're talking about? So, John, we might begin with you.
The number one thing that we are emphasizing is education, being a school. Educating students on how to identify and manage each potential risk. It's important that students can understand what the risks are and why they are exposed to it. For parents and teachers, they need to be on the lookout for any changes in behavior. Does the student's behavior significantly change after a switch to online learning? To continue, implementation of appropriate systems control and monitoring. This is important as well. That this is a school for us. This is what we do. We continuously do this by implementing monitoring to identify a change in the student behavior. So we sort of collect some data for our analysis. The next one is communicate frequently with students on individual level. Check on students that seem more isolated. Our staff doing an excellent job on identifying this. For parents, as parent myself, get involved as much as you can. Thanks.
That's great advice. Thank you, John. And how about you, Paul? What are your suggestions?
Yeah, very similar to John. First and foremost for us is education. As John said, we're all about providing education, so we have to educate across the board. And that is definitely how our students can effectively use technology to benefit their educational experience and not detract from their educational experience. So that's targeted through, we run a life skills program at the school through our heads of house, and they have regular sessions on e-safety and just a general focus. Obviously, they've got their school context, but then they've got their personal context as well. So it ties it all back together. And then to try and push that onto the parents so the parents are aware of what the potential risks are out there. And I see that in my household. I've got 2 teenage daughters myself, and I've said to them, I'm an IT manager, I can own your technology world if you want to, but I'd rather have the conversation. It's all about having those conversations to make sure that they're safe.
Absolutely. Yeah, great advice. Thank you, Paul. And Rod, did you want to weigh in there?
Yeah, look, I don't think I have anything in addition to add, but other than I just concur with what Paul and John have said. I think it's just that it's that relationship where I think that, look, bottom line, the parents need to step up as well. We're all very busy. We live in an incredibly busy world, but you know, it's a results-driven subject, and you know, results. There's a cause and effect if you take your eye off it.
Absolutely. And Jason, what are your recommendations on ways educators and parents can also help minimise risks?
Well, it sounds like we're all in furious agreement with each other, that it starts at home and in the curriculum with teaching and learning. I think, you know, there's probably a couple of bits and pieces that, you know, parents can do in terms of, you know, tools that they can help to monitor at home outside of the school environment. I've, you know, got kids. I've got a 2-year-old and a 9-year-old, and e-safety is a big part of our household conversation. I think there's a really good government website, esafety.gov.au, and there's a fantastic section on that website specifically for parents around digital skill sets, and it's really broad and generic. I mean, it starts from a toddler, it goes all the way to a teenager, and talks about the many different aspects that you face as a parent trying to understand what it's all about and how to educate the child on it as well, and have some of the important conversations at home about how they're using technology.
Fantastic. Great recommendation there with that website, but also some good parenting, I think, by the sounds of it. And thank you to all our panelists for those insights and recommendations. And continuing on from that question, we're now going to watch a short video on some of the e-safety features that Acer Computers have built into their educational laptop range.
More and more, school students are relying on technology to support their learning. That's why at ACER, we put e-safety above all else. ACER's education laptops, such as the Spin 5 and TravelMate P2 devices, provide a range of security features that protect students and their data. These laptops come with an inbuilt, all-in-one security software solution called ACER ProShield. ACER ProShield uses BIOS settings, data encryption, and credential and authentication management to secure the device against unauthorised access, protect local storage, and reduce the risk of students being hacked or having their personal data shared. ACER laptops are also equipped with touch fingerprint readers and infrared cameras for facial login, ensuring only authorised persons can use the device. With technology becoming increasingly essential to the learning experience, ACER's education laptops are at the cutting edge of e-safety and security.
Now, just to expand on that short video, Rod, can I invite you to answer the final question on today's topic? How do the inbuilt security features in ACER devices help promote e-safety?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sarah. From an e-safety point of view, there's two parts to it. There's the computer hardware, and there's software that gets, injected into every computer that comes out of our facility. One thing that's, I think, worth mentioning is that for our commercial grade products, we actually assemble them all in Australia at an assembly plant situated in Homebush West in Sydney. That in itself is an ingredient of e-safety in the sense that we are carrying out all of these functions in country. Specifically to the product itself, all of our education computer products come with Microsoft Windows, latest editions. So currently that's Microsoft Windows 10. There's significant features, particularly in the latest operating system, with virus threat protection, account protection, firewall, network protection, as well as application browser control and device security. Now that's stock standard, and any customer that purchases an ACER product that comes with Windows 10, which is pretty much almost everything, will get those features straight out of the box. Having said that, though, for a significant number of schools that ACER sells into, such as Loritta and Ipswich Girls Grammar, those schools indeed have their own layers of security, and they've got their own unique customized operating environments, which ACER loads in country on their behalf, or has the ability to do so. So we work very much in tandem with the client and with the schools.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rod. I think that nicely concludes our discussion on the topic of e-safety today. I'd like to thank everyone on the panel for participating. I've certainly learned a lot from this session, and I hope our viewers likewise found the discussion informative and useful. We also hope you will join us for the other videos in this ACER for Education series. Bye for now.